Hi, everybody. I'm waiting for everybody to join our Zoom. And if you're watching this on a replay, getting started might take us a couple of minutes, so you're welcome to forward ahead just a bit until we get started. All right, everybody, welcome. Welcome to our class. I did just start our recording going. So if you're catching us on the replay, welcome. For our class, whoever wants to keep cameras and sound and everything turned off, that's totally fine. I will be using and monitoring the chat box. So if you just want to say hi in the chat box and let me know that you're here. If you have any questions, you're welcome to type a question and I'll get a chance to review that and answer questions. And if you're a new friend that I haven't connected with yet, I would love to connect with you. So you can use the chat box during our Zoom meeting, or if you're catching the replay and you would like to send me a message, friend me on Facebook, or find me on Instagram, then you're totally welcome to do that too. I would love to get to know you. I'm going to screen share our PowerPoint presentation and I'll get ready to introduce myself. Right. And so our class title is called "It Is Well With My Soul, Releasing Trauma and Stress with Essential Oils." Now, there are many different ways that we can release trauma and stress. Essential oils is one of the ways I love to do that. So that's what I'll be teaching about today. My name is Nina Cecina, and you can see a lot of letters after my name up on the screen. MA is my master's degree in education. I'm also a certified aromatherapy coach, licensed spiritual healer, and certified raindrop technique specialist. But I also want to make sure I clarify what I don't do. I'm not a medical professional. I am not credentialed to diagnose, prescribe, or otherwise give healthcare advice. I also do not recommend that you change any of your medications without speaking to your healthcare provider. So I am happy to answer questions, but if it falls under the realm of a medical diagnosis with medical terms, I need to be very careful with that because I need to make sure I'm not giving you medical advice. And so just to talk a little bit about stress, I know without even saying, I mean, it goes without saying that the past year and a half has been very stressful for everybody. And there are a lot of conditions that are related to stress. And even when I think about different ways that I can tell with my body that I might be stressed, you know, like right now I'm a little bit nervous. My heart's beating a little bit fast, right? Like sometimes our palms get a little bit sweaty. Our body gives us signals when we're in a stressed state. Last week, I was struggling with a twitch in my eyebrow. My eyebrow kept twitching and I had to wonder, like, am I stressed about something? Why am I getting like a little twitch in my eye muscle? But sometimes when we are stressed, we might get an upset stomach. Sometimes we get tension in our shoulders or tension headaches or migraines. You know, sometimes when all of those muscles get tight, I'll get a tension headache, like right in the back of my neck. Also, it's important to know that stress raises our cortisol levels, and cortisol weakens our immune system. So I picture that kind of like a seesaw. When my stress goes up, my immune system function goes down. Stress is very harmful to our immune system. Personally, my immune system is something that I really need to focus on because I have a history of autoimmune disease. And so my eyes are always on, what can I do to keep my immune system strong? And stress management is a big part of that for me. Because stress weakens our immune system, that can make us susceptible to colds, flu, viruses, infections, etc., just because of what stress does to our immune response. That also makes us susceptible to cancer. Cancer is actually a weakening caused by a weakening of the immune system. We can have cancer cells in our body at any point, but our immune system is what keeps that in check. And our natural killer cells are programmed to kill those cancer cells. When our cortisol is raised and our immune response is weakened, that can cause a proliferation of cancer cells. And autoimmune disorders. Again, when our immune system gets weakened and it's not in balance, autoimmune conditions can happen. Personally, like I mentioned, I do have a history of autoimmune disease. And although the doctors were never able to pinpoint what triggered my autoimmune disease, I am certain it came from going through an extremely toxic, stressful situation. And then all of a sudden, my immune system, my whole body system goes whack because of my emotional state, and my autoimmune disease was triggered. And so managing stress is vital to our overall health. And trauma is also something that happens. And it's also something that, unfortunately, I had to become knowledgeable on. I mean, learning about trauma, whether that's post-traumatic stress disorder or whether that's complex developmental trauma that happens to children, it was an unfortunate situation that kind of forced my hand into learning about childhood trauma because my son was adopted. Anytime a break in caregivers for a child is very traumatic. And so I learned, I wish I had learned sooner for him, but I learned when he was about 10 years old that some of the stress-related behaviors that we were seeing from him were actually trauma-related, that he had suffered trauma because of just the situation that led to his adoption, his birth parents not being able to care for him, spending a couple of years in an orphanage, spending time with a foster family, and actually connecting with the foster family was a good thing. But then being taken away from them was traumatic. And so if you can see the graphic on the screen, that's actually a whole list of books. I have educated myself with a whole bookshelf of trauma parenting information so that I could learn how to help my son deal with and release and integrate his trauma. When it comes to trauma, forgotten traumatic experiences affect every aspect of our lives and how we make decisions. Trauma can cause us to be limited by fear and self-worth. Trauma is often an unexpected event. And because of that, what I've seen personally with, people who have struggled with trauma is that there's comfort in knowing and being able to expect how situations are going to play out. And it's that kind of fear of the unknown, or when unexpected things happen, that is actually a trauma trigger. So I've seen that play out in my family where, something unexpected happens and that becomes the trauma trigger that kind of induces the whole trauma response. And that's because, the traumas that happened were unexpected. And so our body learns and our emotional state at a subconscious level learns that unexpected things are dangerous or unexpected things are harmful, and that unexpected becomes the trigger to the trauma response. Sometimes we can identify our triggers and sometimes we're not able to. One of the myths when it comes to children and trauma, especially babies and trauma, is to say, well, he didn't remember it, so he's better off. Unfortunately, that's not true. It's actually the opposite. Because he can't remember his trauma, we don't have a way, like maybe in talking therapy and cognitive behavioral therapy with a therapist, there's no way to access those memories verbally to be able to talk about them, process them, and integrate them appropriately. It means we need to find other means to integrate and release that trauma if we're not able to consciously remember it. And trauma may be stored in our bodies even without a conscious memory of the event. There's a book, if you look at that whole list of books on the side, there's a book about right about in the middle. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. And the author is Bessel van der Kolk. And he actually did the research to teach us that trauma is stored in our body at a cellular level. And that's why it's called The Body Keeps the Score. So our body remembers the traumas that have happened to us, even if those memory centers in our brain can't consciously recall that memory. That doesn't mean that we're stuck in our trauma. It doesn't mean that we can't release and integrate that trauma, but it does mean we might need some other creative ways to be able to do that. One of those ways is with EMDR therapy. That was actually very helpful for my family and my son. It's a specific therapy for releasing trauma. I could keep on talking about that, but I could share some information if anybody needs that. But today what we're going to be talking about is using our essential oils to be able to access some of that trauma that's stored at a cellular level and how to release that. So it's important to know how essential oils work with the brain. So we've got a picture over here on the side, and it shows in the center the limbic system of the brain. And the limbic system, sometimes we call that the amygdala, if you've ever heard of that before. The amygdala or the limbic system is where our brains store all of our emotions. And so it's right in the center of our brain, right behind where our olfactory system is. Very interesting, right? So that limbic system is where all of your emotions live. Happy emotions, sad emotions, big emotions, all of the emotions, right? They're in the limbic system. Now look closely at the picture. You can see where the nasal cavity comes so close to that olfactory system. And when the person in the picture smells the flower or smells the essential oil, which is steam distilled from a flower or a plant, when we inhale those molecules, they go right up into our nose, right up into the limbic system. This is why a smell can trigger a memory. And you might even notice that. Feel free to share in the comments or in the chat if you have a certain smell that triggers a memory for you. Because for me, but just the right combination of tomato sauce with ground beef and pork and garlic and spices takes me right back to my grandma's kitchen at holiday time, right? Like that smell. All I have to do is smell it for a second and it's grandma's house and it's Christmas Eve, and that smell takes me right back to that memory. This is the science of why that occurs. Oil molecules are so small that they do pass through the blood-brain barrier. And the limbic system, also known as the amygdala, is the storehouse for our emotions. An interesting fun fact, our sense of smell is the only one of our 5 senses that causes us to feel before we think. And so all of our other senses, right? If we see something, if we touch something, if we hear something, if we taste something, all of those other senses are wired to go to our prefrontal cortex first. That's the thinking part of your brain, where all your executive functions are. They go to your thinking brain first, and then we can have a feeling or an emotion about what we see or what we hear or what we touch or what we taste. But your sense of smell, it's like it's hardwired to your nose or to your limbic system. And our sense of smell, we have an emotion before we have a thought or before we process cognitively what that emotion means. And so that's how essential oils can help us regulate our limbic system. Smelling an essential oil can help us calm our limbic system if we're feeling overwhelmed, or if we're having extremely nervous or anxious thoughts, or if we find ourselves very angry all of a sudden. There's essential oils and different protocols that we can do that will calm that limbic system and help us reconnect to the thinking part of our brain so that we can think and act rationally again. When we're talking about inhaling molecules of essential oils and the fact that those teeny tiny molecules cross the blood-brain barrier and go directly into our brain, quality counts. We want to make sure that we are only taking in top quality, pure molecules directly from a plant. So steam distillation of organically grown plants is imperative. You don't want to take just anything and start inhaling that, knowing that it's going up to your brain. Essential oils have hundreds of constituents. Constituents is a fancy name for different kinds of molecules. Chemistry labs can recreate enough constituents to mimic the smell of a plant oil. So this is where we need to be really discerning about quality and about what brand of oils we're using, because it is possible for an essential oil company to have a chemistry lab where they recreate or mimic any molecule that's found in nature, and they contrive it in the lab. It will smell the same, but it will not have the full spectrum of constituents. It will not have therapeutic qualities. And here's the scary thing. Legally, it can still be labeled as natural or pure because it's the same as, on a molecular level, it mimics, or it's like a copy of something that is naturally occurring. Okay, that's kind of scary, that if we say this molecule occurs in nature, I create a copycat in a chemistry lab, legally I can label that as natural or pure because it's a copycat of a natural product. So now we need to be very careful with what we see on a label and what we trust. There's no government agency that regulates what can be put on an essential oil labeled product. An essential oil label can say anything, and there's no government agency that regulates it. So there could be a label that says pure, there could be a label that says natural, there could be a label that says therapeutic grade. None of that is governed, which means we need to be very careful and very discerning about knowing where our plants come from, how they're grown, how they're distilled, in order to make sure if I'm going to put those chemicals up to my brain, or I mean those molecules up to my brain, I need to make sure that they're not laden with other chemicals. A great way to sell oils at a reduced price, if I just want a discount oil company, is to distill the oils with a solvent called hexane. So if we use the solvent hexane, we can pull out more essential oil molecules out of a plant. So if I just want to sell something at a discount, that's a cheaper way to do it. Use a solvent to distill the oil. But then there's going to be hexane or solvents in my oil. We do not want solvents inhaling, going up to our brain. That's very dangerous. The Young Living essential oils that we do use are steam distilled at a very specific pressure and temperature and duration. No solvents, to make sure that only the therapeutic molecules are in the body. And so we've got a great example of that with the essential oil of cypress. So with cypress oil, right, like oil from the cypress tree, the industry standard for cypress oil is to distill it for 2 hours. So you could distill cypress for 2 hours, get an oil that smells just like it is cypress, right? It smells like cypress. You can sell it as cypress. You can sell it as pure cypress oil. But if you only for 2 hours, you're going to get no therapeutic constituents. So it'll smell good, but it's not going to do anything for you therapeutically. Now, if you distill your cypress oil for 22 hours, you'll get some therapeutic constituents, but not all. You'll still be missing 18 important constituents that you might want. If you distill your cypress oil for 24 hours, you'll get all of the therapeutic constituents. They'll all be present in the oil. And that's what Young Living does. Young Living distills their cypress oil for a full 24 hours. But when you think about it, if a company only wants to sell an oil at a discounted rate, wouldn't you just distill it for 2 hours? Why would you distill it for 24 hours? That takes time, that takes money. That means your product is going to be more costly. So as a consumer, I look at that and I say, well, what do I want my essential oil to do? Do I just want it to smell like something? Or do I want it to have some therapeutic benefit to my body, my emotions, and all of that? So there's a reason why when we start talking about essential oils in just a minute, there's a reason why Young Living is the only brand that I can recommend. And that's the reason. Young Living also tests their essential oils throughout their distillation process to make sure that all of the constituents are present and none are lost in the end product. So they test the temperature at certain times throughout the distillation process, and they test the constituents throughout, not just when they're done. They test it throughout to make sure nothing is lost in their distillation process. Their oils go through a lot of extra testing that a lot of oil companies don't do. So I'm going to get ready to talk about some of my favorite oils for reducing stress, releasing trauma, and just great overall emotional wellness. And VALOR is definitely one of my top favorite oils for this purpose. The oils that we're going to talk about can be used separately, or they can be used in combination like a protocol. And so with VALOR, one of my favorite things to do with VALOR is to put it on the soles of my feet at nighttime before I go to bed. I put a little drop on each foot. And then what I do is I cross my hands. I kind of sit, like crisscross applesauce. I cross my hands over my feet, like I'm shaking hands with my feet. And I put my right hand on my left foot and my left hand on my right foot, right? So I'm like crossing my hands on my feet and I hold on to the soles of my feet. It kind of creates like an energy circuit where the energy flows and it calms down. This is my favorite way to calm chaos when it's kind of like, I had a busy day and I'm ready to hit the hay and, I just need to like calm the stuff. Just get ready for bed. This totally feels like a winding down process in my body, mind, and spirit. Sometimes if we do this like a protocol, the next few oils, you can include the highest potential blend if you'd like to. These blends were created to erase limited thinking. VALOR balances and equalizes the body's energy. And you wake up in the morning feeling more self-assured to start the day. A lot of people call VALOR courage in a bottle or brave in a bottle. It really does give you a boost of confidence because it calms kind of those worried feelings. So if I can calm my chaos and calm my worry, I can move forward in my day just feeling calm and confident. Harmony is another blend that can really just bring harmony to our energy, to our body, to our emotions. You can massage one drop along the 7 points of the body on the spine. These are just some different ways to use these oils. Sometimes I will just put harmony in the diffuser. Sometimes I just put a little bit on my wrist or on the side of my neck and wear it like a perfume or a personal fragrance. The 7 points along the body that you could put that on would be the coccyx, the sacrum, the lumbar part of your spine, the dorsal or over your heart, your cervical where your neck meets your shoulders, the medulla, which is the hollow place at the center of the skull, the pineal, which is right in the center of your forehead, and sometimes I even put a drop right on the top of my head. And it doesn't matter if you kind of put that in top to bottom or bottom to top, or you could pick one. Sometimes I'll just take one of these emotional balancing oils and I'll just put it over my heart, or I'll just put a drop on my head, or I'll just put some on my feet. Wherever you feel led to place an oil or put it in your diffuser is totally up to you. It's all personal preference. You could massage harmony on the crown of your head. Harmony balances the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, which gives us feelings of confidence. Sometimes I get those mixed up. So just as a reminder, the sympathetic nervous system is our fight or flight response. That's kind of like when we get into trauma trigger time, right? Fight or flight. Parasympathetic is the calm state. We can think of that as our rest and digest. My body is at rest. My digestive system can work because those systems, like your digestive system, stops when we go into fight or flight mode. If we're having digestive issues during certain times of stress, this could be why. And maybe using some techniques or even using some essential oils to calm our sympathetic nervous system could actually aid in a body system such as digestion. Everything's connected. Our emotional state is absolutely connected to our physical state in our body systems and organ functions. Forgiveness is another very powerful oil to use. One suggested way to use it is to apply forgiveness oil around your navel with your right hand, going in a clockwise motion several times. You could think of situations where you need to forgive yourself or others. Forgive yourself for allowing a person to affect your health and happiness. Forgive the other person for any harm that he or she may have caused you. To see the good in a situation sometimes requires forgiveness. And to be thankful for the experience and the lesson that it taught you. Which that's a hard one to swallow sometimes, isn't it? When we've had a wrong done to us. Forgiveness comes on so many levels, whether we need to forgive a person or forgive ourselves or to be thankful for the situation because we learned something from it. You know, if there was a takeaway, if there was a lesson learned, then the situation that happened doesn't have to be in vain. Release is one of my favorites for releasing just about anything. That could be releasing stress of the day, releasing, you know, maybe an emotional state that I had over something. You could apply a few drops of release oil over the liver area. Your liver is the organ, right? It's your organ that filters out all your toxins. That means also toxic emotions. So our toxic emotions will go into our liver, and releasing that from our liver can be really helpful. Purification is also another excellent oil to put over your liver, especially if you're needing to release feelings of anger. Negative energy goes into the blood and then into the liver where the toxins can remain trapped. The liver becomes a storage place for anger, resentment, bitterness, hatred, jealousy, envy, addictions, and other destructive feelings. And sometimes a liver detox protocol may even be helpful. Maybe taking some supplements or doing some other liver releasing, either internal supplements or taking oils internally can also aid in treating that from a physical level, as well as looking at the emotional connections to that. Present time is an oil that's named for that purpose of helping us to just remain mindful and in the present. Energize 3 drops of present time oil by making clockwise circles with the oil in the palm of your hand. We call that energizing the oil. All it means is, because the molecular structure of the oils is kind of like a hexagon, right? Kind of like a circle. When we roll that in a clockwise motion, you're getting the oil molecules spinning. So when I get the molecules spinning, it kind of like wakes up their energy, or it kind of enhances their energy or their frequency of the oil. You can apply it to the thymus, which is the gland right under your sternum. So if you rub that oil right here on your chest, it will keep you focused on the tasks of today. Because living in the past or dwelling in the future hinder us from being productive in the present. So present time really helps us kind of release the past and the future and just go, all right, today I'm just going to focus on today, and what do I need to get done right now? And so sometimes even if I'm struggling with motivation to get something done, or I'm feeling scattered because I'm worried about so many different things, present time can just kind of help my mind stay at ease for whatever the present task might be. Inner child, right? Again, if we're talking about releasing the past or letting go of the past, inner child is a great oil to help us do that. You could apply 1 drop of inner child to the crown of your head. Sometimes I'll just take a drop and put it over my heart. When you're a child, all things are possible. So it helps to awaken some of our dreams and some of our goals and some of our unlimited potential thinking from when we were a child, before we started limiting ourselves, before we started worrying, oh, I don't know if I'm good enough to do that, or I don't know if I could ever start that project and finish it. Remembering our inner child reminds us that there's no limitations. When you found your inner child, you found your true self. And so all of those oils that we've just talked about, the valor, release, harmony, inner child, forgiveness, present time, all of those oils can be purchased separately from Young Living, or they can be purchased in a little collection called the Feelings Kit. The focus of our class today isn't going to be on purchasing or selling essential oils. Wellness is not an individual, it's not a one size fits all. And so when I do wellness coaching, I like to meet one-on-one and help people choose things that are going to meet their individual needs. And so I'm not going to be sharing purchasing information or anything like that during our class. But if that's something you're interested in, if you haven't purchased oils yet, or you're not sure how to go about starting with some Young Living oils, go ahead and reach out to me privately. And that's something that I could walk you through. Young Living does have a lot of essential oils in their collection, well over 200. And so there are a lot of other oils that also support emotional needs and wellness. Some of these are, and they're named for their purpose. So surrender, acceptance, trauma life, joy. There's so many different, if we've got an emotion to support, right, we've got an oil or a combination of oils to help us support that emotion. If we're talking about just stress, sometimes people ask me, you know, like, I'm really struggling with stress or overwhelming feelings of, you know, any given situation. And I'll get asked, you know, what are my favorites, or what do I use personally? And I kind of call this the trifecta for managing stress. It's my top 3 favorites. And those are VALOR, like we just talked about, Stress Away, and Peace and Calming. Those are my go-to. If I've got some stress going on, if I'm sitting in the dentist's chair, if I'm sitting in traffic, if I'm waiting in a long line somewhere, right? I keep these in, these are the ones I keep in my purse. They all come in rollers, which is just super easy for grab and go, roll some oil on. They also come in, like the picture is shown, the little dripper bottles. So I could put that in my diffuser or something. But those are my top 3 favorites for just, what do I grab when I feel like my emotions are starting to go sideways? Now, there's some different ways that we can use combinations of oils. We can absolutely use any oil any way we want, individually, in the diffuser, topically, but there's also some really cool protocols of using some oils together. An aroma freedom protocol is written by a book. It's by Dr. Benjamin Purkis. And he's a clinical psychologist who uses Young Living essential oils in his practice. And he developed these protocols for overcoming different things. And so one of them is called the 60-second reset. And it's really when you need to hit the reset button. On our next slide, I'm going to walk you through how to do that, because it's really cool and it only takes a minute. He also has what he calls the memory release technique. And this is for when you have a specific memory that needs to be released. When you've got something in mind, when you feel like this recurring thought or this recurring memory feels like it's plaguing me and I can't let it go, there's a great technique for releasing that. Aroma boost is to conquer procrastination and overwhelm. So if you've got a task, or you've got something you want to do and you just feel stuck in I just can't quite bring myself to take the first step to overcome this. I'm feeling overwhelmed with beginning a task. There's a little protocol to do that. And aroma freedom technique is a 12-step protocol in reprogramming areas of your life that don't seem to be working. So it's kind of a combination of all of those, where, we've got to release some stuff so that we can move on and live our best life and be productive, whether that's, personally, in our career. And he outlines all of these techniques in his book that's called Aroma Freedom. Those are all available to you. And they're things that you can do on your own. His 60-second reset, I'm going to show you on the next slide. And you're welcome to save the slide, take a photo, take notes. If you watch the replay and you want to do a screenshot, again, I can't take credit for this. This is Dr. Benjamin Perkis. And so the oils that you use for this little 60-second reset, they're noted on the bottom. It's a blend of Stress Away, lavender, and frankincense. And you can either take 1 drop each of those oils and just place it in your hand, or what I like to do is make a little bottle that's a blend, and I'll make equal parts of the Stress Away, lavender, and frankincense and put it in a bottle. And then when I get ready to do this technique, I just take 1 drop of that blend and I put it in my hand. And so we use the 60-second aroma reset anytime we feel like, like our emotions just went sideways. Maybe I just snapped and I got really angry about something, or maybe I'm just getting really frustrated over how an interaction is going, right? That could be in the parking lot at Walmart, or it could just be, I just had a really negative interaction with, with my child or my family member. So the step 1 for this is identify the situation. I'll just, I'll throw a hypothetical out there, right? Like I just got cut off in the parking lot and I pulled into my parking space and I just want to start shouting 4-letter words at somebody. So name the feeling, right? I'm really frustrated or angry. Make sure it's a feeling word. Locate that feeling in the part of your body. So I might be, maybe my heart is racing and I'm feeling it in my chest right here because I just feel, I feel it in my heart. Identify the negative thought associated with the feeling and the situation. So what am I thinking about this situation? I might be thinking that person's a total jerk, or gosh, I can't believe people, drive like that in the parking lot. Because your thought, the number 4, remember that's different than the number 2, the feeling word. Okay, so I just want to make sure we differentiate between the 2. So number 2 was I'm really angry and frustrated. And then number 4 was, that person's a what, I can't believe they cut me off in the parking lot. My number 5 is now it's time to inhale the essential oil blend. So I'm going to put the drop or drops in my hand. I'm going to get those molecules spinning. I'm going to roll that around a little bit like this. And then I'm just going to hold that up over my nose and deep inhale. And you breathe that in and focus on the feeling that you were feeling, that anger or frustrated. Breathe that into where you were feeling that in your body, right? Like I'm going to imagine breathing that into my chest because I was feeling like my heart was racing. Sometimes we feel something in the pit of our stomach. Imagine you're breathing that into your stomach. Breathe that into the situation. Take as many deep breaths as you need to feel your emotions shift. And it's called the 60-second aroma reset because it really will only take about a minute. A few deep breaths. And because those essential oil molecules are going right up into that limbic system, they're going to calm the emotions that are up there in your brain, causing us all the trouble. And your thinking part of your brain is going to start thinking again. You're going to start feeling rational and thinking rational thoughts again. And we've only taken 1 minute to reset how we feel. And then we can go into Walmart and do our shopping, or, have a better interaction, or even offer an apology or repair a situation if it was a situation with another person. Sometimes we need a little bit more than what we can do ourselves with our essential oils, because the aroma freedom techniques that I mentioned and the 60-second reset, those are all things that we can just grab and do with our oils. Sometimes we do need a little bit more, and we need someone like a facilitator to come alongside and walk us through a protocol for releasing maybe very deep-seated stuck emotions. Maybe we need some help releasing some trauma. If we picture our emotions kind of like an onion, sometimes we do need a little help peeling back some of those layers, there is a protocol called emotional release. And this is something that I offer as a private session if you're local to me, or if you're from anywhere and you come visit, this is something that we could do in person. Because many times our complex emotions and traumas get trapped within our body and our mind. And in the emotional release private session, essential oils are combined with prayers and affirmations. And a facilitator such as myself can lead the session utilizing the intention and the prayer. There are other people that are certified and qualified to do emotional release sessions. If you're somewhere not near me and you'd like to get connected with someone, please let me know and I can find someone in your area. The receiver is invited to keep an open mind as the emotions and traumas that might not have been previously identified may potentially be released. Because remember, we can't always identify what stuck emotions we might have in our body. And when I experienced an emotional release session for myself, I entered into the session really kind of with an idea of what I might be releasing or ready to release. And it wasn't that at all. It was something totally different. But at the end of the session, I felt totally different. I felt like a weight had been lifted. I had a physical symptom in my body that disappeared, because that can happen. A physical manifestation. For me personally, it was a kink in my neck that was plaguing me, that was chronic, that I kept seeing my chiropractor for, and I kept having chiropractic adjustments. When I went through this emotional release protocol, the kink in my neck went away, and I realized that physical thing was a manifestation of a stuck emotion that needed to be released. That was such a powerful aha moment for me that, you know, not only can I use essential oils for physical things, you know, like I could put some oils on my neck that would help relax some muscles, but releasing emotions could also affect my physical state. Oiling as a daily practice was something that I needed to learn how to do. So I have certain oils that I use every single day without fail. It's become part of my morning routine and my evening routine. And then there's different oils that I'll use just kind of on an as needed basis. But our emotional health, as well as our physical health, is something we need to care for every day. And I think sometimes as moms, as humans, right? As people who love and care for other people, sometimes we do all the loving and the caring on the other people, and we forget to love and care for ourselves. And then we get reminded, right? Like I need some self-care for me. And I get reminded that I'm more helpful to other people if I can take care of myself. Right? Like there's that analogy of being on the airplane, and they say when the oxygen mask drops down, put your own mask on first before you try to help other people. So for me, oiling every day is my way of putting my mask on first. I've got to take care of me first so that I can be better for the other people that I care for. Using an essential oil one time for one symptom can be helpful. And growing up with Western medicine, right? Like we're trained to think, I have a symptom, I need to do a thing. Something happened, I need a Band-Aid. And when we start using essential oils, I started thinking of, oh, what's the oil for that? I need an oil for that. What's the oil for that? With each symptom that I was feeling. But what we really want to do is flip the script on that. Because using essential oils daily as a wellness routine will be much more successful. We shift our focus from symptom management to system maintenance, right? That's powerful. Instead of thinking one oil, one oil, one oil, I'm going to oil every day and support my immune system, my endocrine system, my cardiovascular system, my nervous system. When we start thinking of supporting systems, we're changing how we manage our health and wellness. It's my passion to come alongside people who want to start doing this. For me, it really was, changing how I thought about things, changing how I thought about my health and my overall wellness. Because when I take care of myself every day, I have less crisis to manage, whether that's an emotional health crisis or whether that's a physical health crisis. I found that when I was taking care of myself daily, there was less crisis management involved. Another option that can be really helpful is something called the ITOVI scan. And again, if you're local to me, this is something that I do in person. We also have leaders and team members that are nationwide that could also connect with you for an ITOVI scan. We have leaders in Southern California. We have leaders in Las Vegas that have these great little handheld devices. And this is how they work. So every essential oil and supplement has a unique electrical frequency, and all of those frequencies are preloaded into the ITOVI hand scanner device. And it works on the same technology as the galvanic skin response, where the device touches your skin and it's able to get a reading about what's going on inside your body. Just like your Fitbit or your Apple Watch, it touches your skin and it can tell you things. The ITOVI scanner matches your body's internal frequencies with the frequencies of the Young Living oils and products. The products on your report, so a little report comes up in the app on the phone, and the products on your report are the products that your body will respond to best. So that could be an essential oil, that could be a supplement, where the reading on the report will say, wow, your body really is responding to, this oil or supplement. And then the ITOVI report suggests products that will support your body systems and your emotions. And so in conclusion, we have many options available for taking care of our health. Essential oils can be a wonderful way to enhance our health. Oils can emotionally support us by supporting the brain. They can physically support us by supporting our body systems and organs. And coaching is available to come alongside and help you if you want to get started. Sometimes starting something new can feel really overwhelming. You might be thinking, I really want to start using oils for supporting my emotions, but I'm not even sure where to get started, or I'm not sure what to do next, or I feel like I've got some stuck emotions or trauma, and I think I might need some help overcoming that. And that's where I come in, because my passion is coming alongside and helping anybody who just, needs someone to hold their hand, needs a coach, needs some tips. If you would like to have a personal Zoom call or talk on the phone or connect via social media, it's my passion and it's my pleasure to help you with that. And I realized if anybody was utilizing the chat box or answering questions, it's not showing me because I've got my screen share on. So I'm going to go ahead and stop my screen share. And I'm just going to go ahead and check the chat box and see if we have any comments or questions. And so I just want to thank you for joining us. If you tuned in live or if you're catching the recording, thank you so much. I hope our lesson was helpful to you. I hope if you're a seasoned oiler, I hope you learned some new tricks. And if you're just getting started, or if you're new to oils or you're not even sure where to start, I would love to help you get started and connect with you. So thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful day. And yes, our video is being recorded, and I will have a link later on this afternoon to be able to share that. And also, everybody is welcome to share with your family and friends, or if you know anyone that would be helped by the situation or by our class, please do go ahead and share.